So let's go through a brief revision here, inshallah. So this is obviously for the beginner in Tajweed. Okay. Actually, before I do that, I want you guys to participate, inshallah. What is Tajweed? Try not to look at the book, inshallah. Someone, you can either type in the chat box, or you can, just raise your hand, or just open your mic and answer, inshallah. What is Tajweed?
To recite properly with all the pronunciations and accuracies.
Okay, good. So that's the technical definition of Tajweed, to recite everything according to its. So to recite correctly, but if you can just elaborate on that, there are 2 points. To recite with what and what?
The Makhārij and the Sifat.
Okay, the Makhārij and the Sifa. And what is the Makhārij and what is the Sifa?
So the Makhārij is where the sound emanates from.
Good, very good, yeah.
And the Sifat is the characteristics.
Good, okay, and we haven't obviously, inshallah, later on we'll go ahead and discuss what that is. But, just briefly, so whether a letter is heavy or light, right, inshallah, that is basically the Sifa, okay? Okay. Now that was the technical definition. What is the linguistic definition of Tajweed?
To do something properly.
Okay, good. To recite, to do something properly, to do something good. Excellent. Okay, then what we covered here was, let's see here. Okay, what is the subject matter of Tajweed? What does Tajweed help us with? What's the point of Tajweed?
To be able to read Arabic properly.
Okay, good. So we're discussing the letters of Arabic alphabet and to protect ourselves from making mistakes in the Arabic language. Now, what is the ruling of Tajweed? We touched upon this, right? Is it fard? Is it wajib? Is it sunnah?
Fard, to be able to recite correctly.
To be able to recite, it's necessary, but to be able to teach, right, it's fardul kifaya. Right? It's a communal obligation, so you must have a few individuals who are able to teach Tajweed. However, if we have, but for you to recite, then obviously everyone must know how to recite with Tajweed, inshallah. Okay. Okay, then we talked about the 2 types of mistakes. One was lahan jali and lahan khafi. What are the differences between them?
Yes, lan khalil.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there is lan halil.
Lahan jali, okay. Which is
Yes, lahan jadid and nahal khalil.
Okay, so jali and khafi. Jali and khafi. So you can see here. So it's jali and khafi. Okay. Let's see if I can write it here. So if you can see this here, I'm not sure.
One is sorry.
Yeah, al-jali and al-khafi, right? So one is clear and one is hidden. So the clear error is that anyone can notice the mistake. And khafi is more hidden, so you have to study Tajweed to be able to detect the mistake, okay? Okay, alrighty. Then we said that there are 4 ways of making a major mistake or a clear mistake. You add a letter, omit a letter, change a letter, change a haraka. And then the khafi is making a mistake in the sifat arida. We'll get into that. Or for example, you drop a mad, or you don't read a mad properly, or you're not reciting ikhfa properly, so on, okay? And then we have some terms, fatha, dhamma, kasra. I hope everyone went through them, inshallah. We have sukoon, shadda, we have a tanween, and we did all of that, right? Okay, then we did the isti'adha and basmala. So we said that when the reciter is about to recite, they will find themselves in one of 3 situations. Can someone quickly tell them all 3 situations, inshallah?
Starting at the start of a surah, middle of a surah, and in between, going from one surah to the next.
Ending one surah and going to next. Okay, just give me one moment here, okay? Okay, good. So beginning of surah, middle of surah, or ending one surah, going to next. Okay, so let's go to the first scenario quickly. We have these terminologies that we learned. So the first scenario, there are 4 ways that one can recite. Either you join everything. So without looking, make it very simple. Either you join everything or you disconnect everything, right? That's easy. And then the other way is that you join the first, disconnect the second. So first means isti'adha and basmala. Or the other way is that you separate the first from the second, isti'adha and basmala, and you join the basmala to beginning of surah. Okay, all the 4 ways are permissible. Second scenario, you're starting in the middle of the surah. Again, same thing. You separate everything, okay? Or you join the first and separate the second. And we said that these 2 are not advised for the beginner, which is joining everything and disconnecting the first and joining the second. Third scenario, you're ending the surah, starting the next surah. Again, either you join everything or you separate everything, or you separate the first, which is the end of the surah and the basmala, and then you join the basmala to the beginning of the second surah. Obviously, the other way, which is wasl al-awwal fasl al-thani, okay, this is the only way which is not allowed, because this will leave the impression that the basmala is part of the end of the first surah. Because what you're doing here is you're joining the first and disconnecting the second, right? And then obviously we know that basmala is not recited at the beginning of Surah Al-Tawbah. All right, then we had a nice summary here, okay? And you can refer back to that, inshallah. And we went through this as well. So according to Ali radiallahu anhu, the tartil is tajweed al-huruf wa ma'rifat al-wuquf, knowing the letters, that is the Makhārij and Sifat, and knowing the science of the waqf, okay? Because we know that obviously waqf, if we were not reciting properly, we're not stopping, then it can change the meaning, of course, okay? And the book has been sent in the chat as well, if you want to go ahead and download that, inshallah. There's another book that we're going to refer to, inshallah, we can send that out as well, okay? Alrighty, now we're moving on to the next lesson here, inshallah. Before we move on, do we have any questions? You can either type it in or you can just open your mic and ask your question, inshallah. Okay, if everything is all clear, please type in the chat. Everything is clear, we can move forward. You can just write clear, you can write yes, you can write something that shows that everyone is on the same page. Okay, getting some responses. Okay, so now we move on to the basically, which is the next lesson. Okay, that was a quick review here. This is Makhārij, okay, Makhārij. So what is Makhārij? Makhārij is the plural of Makhraj, okay? So it literally means a place from where something exits, right? We have kharaja. Technically, it is an articulation point. That is the place from which the sound of the letters is articulated, okay? So for example, you're reciting ba, right? It comes from the lips, okay? Whereas ayn comes from the throat, okay? Or ha, or ghayn, or kha, or ha, okay? And we'll come to that. So you can see here, there's a picture here, which indicates, where the letters will come out from. So these are the main areas that you should know. You have the upper lip, you have the nasal cavity, and the tongue. You have the tip of the tongue, you have the middle, you have the side of the tongue, you have the back part of the tongue, you have the top part of the throat, middle and lowest part of the throat, okay? And then you have something called the oral cavity. So you can see here, the oral cavity here is, it starts from here, right? It's everything starting from here all the way down, okay? So you can notice here that some of the Makhārij, right? Some of the points of articulations are more wider, okay? They have more space, okay? Whereas others are more specific, okay? Now, how many Makhārij are there? So according to Khalil ibn Ahmad al-Farahidi, there are 17 Makhārij, okay? There are 17 Makhārij. And this is also the view held by Imam Ibn al-Jazari, and most of the scholars hold this view, okay? So there are 17 points of articulation. Okay, good. Yeah, someone said 17, very good. Now, I'm going to be giving some, advices and tips on or some homework, right? If you can do that, that would be better, inshallah. I want you to read about Khalil ibn Ahmad al-Farahidi, okay? So you have the name here in the book, so I'm not going to write it. And then I also want you to read a little bit about Imam Ibn al-Jazari, okay? Imam Ibn al-Jazari. These two scholars you should know, or in particular Imam Ibn al-Jazari for sure, because he's the authority on Tajweed, right? And you have the Al-Jazariya, and you have many other books that he's authored, of course. So try to learn a few points about these scholars, okay? About 5, right? Try to learn when they were born, when they passed away, and a few other points about them, inshallah, if you can. Doesn't have to be detailed, but try to get an idea. So you know, if you hear the name, you should know who is this scholar, what time did they live, and so on. Okay. Makhraj number 1, the empty space in the mouth and throat. Okay. The empty space in the mouth and throat. These, the 3 lengthened letters, that is the mad letters, are pronounced from here. So we have waw sakina preceded by dhamma, ya sakina preceded by kasra, and alif. So the 3 stretched letters, a, u, e. Now notice, it's not the sound, but rather the sound that comes after the a. Or for example, ba. It's not the ba, but rather the sound that comes after. Okay, so the sound, the u sound, the e sound. That is the makhraj number 1. Okay, and we saw here in the picture before, you can see here, this is the oral cavity. So the sound doesn't come from a specific place. I want you all to read now, just say ba. Okay. You can open the mic or you can read it by yourself. That's fine. Just repeat ba. Good. So can you try to pinpoint that sound, that sound? Can you try to pinpoint it? Can you tell me, does it come from the beginning of the mouth or the bottom of the throat? Yes or no?
Lips.
Comes from the lips. Okay. Any other answers?
Bottom of the throat.
The back of the throat. Any other answer?
I think it comes from the oral cavity.
Okay, very good, mashallah. So it's from the oral cavity, right? And you can see here, the oral cavity is this whole place, starting from the beginning of the mouth all the way to the end of the throat. So there's no specific point. You can try saying it. You understand? Okay, that is makhraj number 1. Now note that the alif never takes a haraka, and it always has a fatha before. So you cannot put a haraka on the alif. That's just a point there, inshallah. Okay, now without looking here, we have the middle of the throat, the top of the throat, and the bottom of the throat. Let's look here. Top of the throat, middle throat, and lower throat, okay? So if you look here, or try doing yourself as well, take your finger, place it, in the middle of your throat. You have like the little bump there, Adam's apple, right? A little bump there. Try to put your finger there, okay? Some of you may be more prominent, others not, but try to find it. Once you found it, let me know. Type yes, I found it, or no, I didn't find it, okay?
Yes.
Okay, you can type in chat. I want everyone to answer. There's 35 people here, minus admins can participate as well. It's fine. I want everyone to type in. Good. Okay, excellent. So that is that little bump there. That is the middle of the throat. So that is a reference point. Okay, that is the middle of the throat. Now, above it, right, that would be the top, and below it would be the lower part of the throat. So you have the middle, top, and bottom, okay? So now, from that middle part of the throat, let's go here now. I'm gonna go here in the middle, okay? So look here, number 3. So we have middle part of the throat. the ayn and ha are pronounced from here. The ayn and ha are pronounced from here. Okay. So what I want everyone to do is place their finger again right there and try to say ayn or say
Ayn.
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 Does that part
Ayn.
vibrate?
Yeah, I feel it.
Now place your finger above it, the top part of the throat, and say ayn. Does it vibrate? Ayn.
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 Is
Ayn.
it vibrating or making a movement under your finger?
Yeah.
Ayn.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It moves
Is
under
that
the finger.
movement, is that movement less than the middle part of the throat?
Yes, less.
It's less. Very good. Now let's go and say ha, ha, ha,
Ha.
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 ha, not
Ha.
ha, rather that ha,
Ha.
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 ha,
Ha. Ha.
ha. Everyone should be trying. Either you have your mic on or you're doing it, without your mic. That's fine. But I want everyone to say it. Ha,
Ha.
ha. Okay. Now place your finger at the bottom of your throat and say ayn. Is there any
Ayn.
vibration? Ayn,
Ayn.
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 Any vibration there?
No.
Ayn.
No, right? Or it's less. But if you
Ayn.
go and say ayn, ayn, there's a lot of movement under your finger. Yes or no?
Ayn.
Ayn. Ayn.
Okay. So that is ayn, and comes from the middle part of the throat. Now we have when you're studying the science of Tajweed, normally the scholars start from the bottom of the throat and go to the lips. So you're going from here, right? Look at this picture here. You're starting from here, right? And going all the way up. So let's go ahead and read the lower throat. So it says here, this is the part of the throat which is closest to the chest and furthest from the opening of the mouth. The hamza and ha are pronounced.
Hamza. Ha.
Okay. The upper part of the throat, this is that part of the throat which is closest to the mouth. The ghayn and kha pronounced from here. Ghayn and kha. Okay. So let's go here now. We have 6 letters. Okay. And we did the oral cavity, but let's keep that aside for now. So Makhārij number 2, 3, 4. There are 3 Makhārij we covered. Okay. So let's look here. Okay. So we did 3 Makhārij. Makhārij. And how many letters did we have?
6.
6 letters, right? So each Makhārij here in this case has 2 letters. Okay. So we have here. Let's go to the middle of the throat here. We have which letters in the middle of the throat? Or actually, let's go to the bottom. Bottom part of the throat. What letters do we have?
Hamza. Ha.
Good. We have Hamza, right? Hamza and Ha. Okay, middle part of the throat we have
Ayn. Ha.
Ayn, Ha. And the top part of the throat we have
Ghayn. Ja.
Ghaynan.
Ha.
Ha. Ha.
Very good. Okay. So we have lower part of the throat again. I'm just going to write it. Okay. Hamza, Ha, Ayn, Ha, and Ghayn and Kha. So making this very simple here, right? The bottom part of the throat. So normally, right, where does Ha come from? I've heard many different answers. Some say it comes from the chest, right? Obviously, no. So it's the throat here, right? You can see the throat. And you divide the throat into 3 portions, top, middle, lowest. So the bottom of the throat, everyone repeat with me. Hamza.
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 Ha.
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 This ha is like the letter, like you can say like the letter H when you say hello, right? You don't say. So this is quite for most people to recite this letter, right? So ha.
Ha.
This is common. Both of these letters are in most languages, right? In the English, we have Hamza can be like A, okay? And Ha is like the letter H, quite easy. So let's read Ah,
Ah.
Ha, Ha.
Ha.
One more time. Ah,
Ha.
Ha. Now, common mistake here is that people will pronounce the Ha like a Ha. or like in the middle of a ha and ha. That is wrong. It should be completely sound. And you should release the air completely. Once we learn the sifat, which is the quality of the letters, we'll understand more, okay? So when it comes to ha, we must release the air completely, not half, okay? Completely. Ha. Or you can say like sign. Okay? And again, take your finger and place it down in the bottom of your throat now. Everyone, take your finger and place it in the bottom of the throat and say ha. Is it vibrating there? Now take your finger and place it in the middle of the throat and say ha. Is that vibrating?
Why is for every single letter the middle is vibrating 2 times more than the bottom?
Sorry, say it again. Your voice is quite low there.
The middle is vibrating 2 times more than the bottom.
So try saying, okay, let's do that. Take your finger in the middle of the throat and say where that little bump was, right? That apple, and say ha. And now say ayn. Now tell me which one is vibrating more, the ha or ayn?
Ayn is vibrating more.
Ayn is vibrating more. Why? Because ayn comes from the middle of the throat.
Yeah.
Now, take your finger in that same place, go a little bit lower and say ha. Ha. Or say ana, for example. No, say the hamza. Say the hamza.
Hamza.
No, listen, hold on. Let's take a break here. Everyone, take a breath. Take a deep breath. Okay. When I'm saying hamza, I'm not saying say the hamza. I'm saying say the sound of the hamza. Okay, we have the name of the letter is hamza, but the sound of the letter, right? It's different from the name. So we call the hamza here, right? That's the name of it, hamza. This letter is called hamza, but the sound it makes is a. Like the letter A. This one here, right? This one here.
It is vibrating.
Very good. So now you'll notice that's correct, right? What's your name? Is it Saleh?
Saleh, yeah.
I think there's someone else. There's a younger guy.
Oh, me.
Yeah, what's your name?
My name is Mohammed.
Muhammad?
Yeah.
Okay, mashallah. How old are you?
10.
Okay, mashallah. So yes, now you notice that the hamza is vibrating more at the lower part of the throat, okay? So this, now you know, okay? You know where the letter is coming from. So this is half of the letter. You still need to know the sifa. However, this is a very big step in moving forward. So now you know to read the Quran correctly, right? It's very important. Now, don't take this very lightly and say, oh, I'm just learning the bottom of the throat. Don't take it lightly. This is knowledge. This is knowledge, because if you learn this, this is going to allow you to read the Quran correctly. You understand? It's going to protect you from making mistakes when you're reciting the Quran. And again, we learn the ruling of Tajweed. We must recite correctly. Okay, so don't take this lightly. These exercises I'm telling you, right? Try to do them. And you'll notice the more you practice, even if you're making mistakes now, like you have lessons every week. So in that week, you should go and practice. Go in front of a mirror and again, use your finger and say, ha, ayn, hayn. And there's a resource I'll send you, inshallah. We can send you that. I believe it's Sheikh Ayman in Saudi Arabia there. He has a recording of all the letters and they're repeated again and again and again. So try to listen to that and then you recite and compare. Try to record yourself and see, is my pronunciation similar to the Sheikh's or not? Do you understand? Does everyone understand?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Inshallah, yes.
Okay, about 5 people. Where's everyone else? So just type in the chat. So if you understand, okay, let's make it easy. This is what one of my teachers would do in an online class. He said, if you get it, type in 1. If you do not get it, type 2. Because yes is too difficult to type, right? So just put 1 or 2 to make it easy. Okay, there we go. Okay, excellent, mashallah. So now you understand from here the 2 letters, okay? Moving to the middle of the throat, we did this, ayn and ha, okay? A common mistake here, ha is pronounced like this, ha, okay? And this is because in some languages, there is, the ha does not exist, or the ayn does not exist, right? So ayn should be pronounced from the middle, not from the bottom. Another common mistake here is some people pronounce it from the top of the throat. or the bottom of the throat, like I said, and they'll say عالمين عالمين right? That's wrong. It should be from the middle. You can hear the difference. Okay? Ayn versus ayn, right? You're being lazy and saying ayn. This is like the common dialect, you know, when people are speaking Arabic, like Arabs are speaking Arabic, gonna sound, the ayn will sound more like that, okay? Which is fine when they're speaking, but when it comes to the Quran, you should be more precise and say it from the middle. Ayn, ayn, okay? Okay, moving to the top of the throat here, we have again 2 letters, ghayn and kha. Now, take your finger and place it in the top part of your throat and say ghayn. Do you feel that part vibrating? Yes or no? Type in 1 or 2.
Rain.
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 And try to keep saying it. Ghayn, ghayn.
Rain. Rain.
Rain.
Okay. Ghayn.
Rain.
Now,
This one too, I'm finding a confusion.
Rain.
so again, try to do it from the top part of your throat, right? So say ghayn, ghayn.
Where did
Rain.
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 Before I was saying rain.
Okay, hold on a second. I think Muhammad is asking. Yeah, go ahead.
I found a confusion with the ayn. It
This
feels
one
like-
here, this line here.
Yeah, that one. It feels like it's from the bottom of the throat, like middle-ish, bottomish.
No, it should be from the top. If you place again your finger in the middle of the throat and say ghayn, and then hear the ayn, when you say ayn, it vibrates more. Okay, and the so when you're gargling, basically sound, that's the sound you want. Okay. Now, everyone, go back to the hamza and say and then ha right away, because they come from the same place. Ha. Okay, middle. Ayn, ha. Top, ghayn, kha. Okay, now you'll notice the first, look here, the hamza, ayn, and ghayn, you'll notice your finger will vibrate more, and there's a reason for that. When we get to the sifa, we'll understand why. Because, look here now, the hamza and ha come from the bottom of the throat. The ayn and ha come from the middle of the throat, and ghayn and kha come from the top of the throat. So now the question is, everyone, I want you to answer. How do you differentiate between the 2 letters then? If they come from the same place, then what makes them different?
Because they're 2 different letters and they're 2 different pronunciations. Like
Okay, but they're coming from the same place. So what makes them different?
The characteristics.
Their characteristic.
The sifat.
The sifat, there we go, mashallah, very good, the sifats. So remember, what is tajweed? The study of Makhārij and sifat. Okay. So now you're learning Makhārij, you're learning where the letter comes from. But how do you differentiate between the letters? It is the quality, okay, it's the quality. Okay, now obviously we're gonna go on to breakout rooms and you're gonna practice these letters. But let's, okay, what is the definition of sifat? For now, you can just say the quality of the letter, okay? We're going to learn about that in its separate chapter, inshallah. Any other questions? Go ahead and ask.
session finished.
I'm sorry?
Is the session finished?
No, it's not finished. We're going to go and practice the exercise in a moment here. But did anyone have any questions so far?
No.
Okay, you can type in the chat if you do. What I'm going to do now here is I'm going to share something else, okay?
After how much time should we come back?
Okay. Oh, it's already here, okay. Okay, so this is the other book that we'll be sharing, inshallah, okay? Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
This is basically diagrams of the book. It's essentially the same book, but they made it into like chart form so you can learn it and memorize it more easily. So tajweed, why? Because this is how Allah revealed the Quran, right? Because it's the beautification, adornment of recitation. There are 2 aspects. There's the theory and practice. We learned fard ayn, kifaya. We learned lahin jali, lahin khafi. We learned makhraj sifat, and then we have sifat breaks down into two, permanent and temporary, and then we have makhārij al-huruf, right? So we have the throat, the tongue, the lips, nasal cavity. These are the Arabic terminologies if you want to learn, so you'll get this book. So the throat is halq, right? The throat. And then the oral cavity is called al-jawf, okay, al-jawf. Okay, and then there's the throat here. Okay, then we have the lower part, middle part of the throat, upper part, right? In Arabic, aqsa al-halq, wasat al-halq, adna al-halq. Okay, upper, middle, lower. And then we learn the makhārij, lower part of the throat, hamza ha. Okay, so you can see here, hamza ha, middle part, ayn ha, top part, ghayn kha. Okay. Now in this picture here, it seems like it's the back of the tongue almost, but it's actually the top of the throat. Okay. Okay, then we'll skip this for now. And let's see which page we're on. I think it's 100. Let's see. It's probably around here. So, okay, there it is. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here, inshallah, is we're going to do the exercises here. Okay. Is everyone still with me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
I did have another question, actually, if that's okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, yeah.
So, you were saying the reasons behind Tajweed. Is one of the reasons that we'd basically change what the Quran is actually saying if we're pronouncing it wrong? And therefore, to what extent is it a sin, if it is a sin, that we're pronouncing it wrong? In which case, how do we stop ourselves spiraling into this whole sort of anxiety about us, getting it wrong constantly until we do learn Tajweed properly?
Yeah. So
that's like a 3-part question. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Did you watch lesson number 1?
I didn't know. I thought this was the first lesson.
Okay. So what I would advise you to do is go back and listen to that recording, inshallah. So we've already touched upon that there. Okay. So we've went into quite detail. Is it necessary to read with tajweed? If you're not reciting with tajweed, are you making a mistake? Is it sinful? Right. So we've already touched upon that there, but very simply, short answer is that if you're changing the meaning, if you're changing the pronunciation, you're changing the meaning, right? For example, qalb with a qaf versus kalb with a kaf, there's a big difference. Qalb means heart, kalb means dog. Right?
Yes.
So it can have a profound difference in the meaning. Having said that, let's say someone is trying to recite, okay, and they're really trying to fix the recitation, like everyone here, alhamdulillah, all the students here, they're trying. Why are they here? Because they're trying to recite correctly, inshallah, right? So if you're striving to recite and you're trying to learn, then inshallah, there is no sin, okay, because you're trying to learn. But if someone is just lax and they don't care, right, then it's feared that they may be that they may get sin, okay. And obviously there is different types of mistakes you can make. We covered that. So there's like a clear mistake and then a hidden mistake, okay.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Appreciate it.
No worries, inshallah. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go out into the breakout rooms, inshallah. Okay, and the admins will help me with that, inshallah. So what we're going to do is exercise number 1. Okay, now perhaps you may not get the full exercise done. That's fine. Okay, try to do as much of it as you can. We have about 20 minutes. Perhaps we can finish, inshallah, even. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and show you how this is to be done. So you're going to identify and highlight the letters of the throat in the ayat below. So the lower part of the throat, middle and upper part of the throat, okay? And we just did this, right? So we're going to go, for example, here. Can everyone see this here?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So, and you can see this little spotlight?
Yep.
Okay, so look here. So what I want you to do here is you're not going to recite. So when are we going to recite, right? When you go to a normal tajweed class or halaqah, normally you start reciting, the teacher corrects and so on. But why are we learning in this manner? The point of it is that you know where the letter is coming from and what the quality of the letter is. If you know this and you understand this by yourself, you will be able to correct yourself, right? With the guidance of a teacher. So then, for example, if you're making a mistake here, I'll say, for example, oh, wait, hold on. You're reading it from the upper part of the throat. And then you'll be, okay, let me think about this. You'll try to correct it by yourself. You understand? So that's the point of it, inshallah. Okay, So what I want you to do here is exactly what I'm doing now, okay? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So let's say, you're reciting to your teacher or you're practicing, and you can highlight this, you can print it out and do it as you like, or on the computer or whatever. So ha comes from the bottom part of the throat. So I'll read that portion only. Ash-shahru. Ha comes from the bottom part of the throat. Al-haramu. Ha comes from the middle part of the throat. Bish-shahri. Ha comes from the lower part of the throat. Al-harami. Ha comes from the middle part of the throat. Wal-hurumatu. Ha comes from the middle part of the throat. And then keep going because there's nothing here. Ayn comes from the middle part of the throat. فَمَنِ اعْتَدَى. عَلَيْكُمْ. Ayn comes from the middle part of the throat. فَاعْتَدُوا. Ayn comes from the middle part of the throat. عَلَيْهِ. Ayn comes from the middle part of the throat. Ha comes from the bottom part of the throat. مَعْتَدَى. Ayn comes from the middle part of the throat. Ayn comes from the middle part of the throat. وَاعْلَمُوا. Ayn comes from the middle part of the throat. Before that, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ. Ha in the word Allah comes from the bottom part of the throat. And then again, in the word Allah, أَنَّ اللَّهَ. Ha comes from the bottom part of the throat. Ma'al muttaqeen. Ayn comes from the middle part of the throat. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so type in the chat if you understand. It's very simple. Okay. So we just did number one. Later on, you're going to be adding more letters. So you're going to be doing, more. So for example, you'll say sheen comes from the middle part of the tongue, touching the roof of the mouth. Has from the bottom part of the throat. Rise from the tip of the tongue, extending from canine to canine. We'll get into that, right? And you should be able to do this very quickly. Again, going back to what I'm saying, this is knowledge. Okay, don't take this lightly and say, oh, this is a waste of my time. No, this is exactly knowledge. If you know and understand this and practice this, implement this, inshallah, this will help you to become a better reciter. And of course, the goal is to recite the Quran correctly. Okay, let's go ahead and divide the student, inshallah. Can someone help me with that?